Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the final evening of the Cartridge Club's E3 coverage. Over the past 3 nights, we've spent a significant amount of time providing our takes on the newest information brought directly to us by our favorite game companies, and tonight we'll continue that trend. Before going over our best of E3 highlights, we'll be going over the presentation from Nintendo. Who's not muted? I am. Is this me?
Hello, is it me?
Hey, I was muted.
Oh, we're good.
What happened?
The YouTube.
This is our
Yay,
homage to Sony.
professionalism. Woo.
Is this
Okay.
the Sony press conference?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
our
I
homage.
know. Touche. Sorry, I had the chat open, so. Where was I?
You were just getting ready to fill out your resume for what
We'll be going
gaming
over-
convention you're going to be covering next year with who you're doing it with.
So, coming back to reel it back in. Before going into the best of E3 highlights, we're going to highlight Nintendo. That was the big news from today, and we'll include details from both the Nintendo showcase and some of the things that we had the opportunity to see on Treehouse Live. A few big announcements that got revealed there as well. So we have a lot to cover. I expect we'll have some strong reactions to what we got today. So allow me to welcome back our panel, Caleb, Ryan, and P1. Thank you all for coming back, you guys.
Thank you for having us back.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Absolutely. We are today was an exciting day. Now, before we dive in, as I indicated in last night's coverage, your source for all of these trailers is the Cartridge Club forums, where Round 2 Gaming has been keeping tabs on all the reveals. So again, thank you, Dean, for handling this. Your support has been wonderful, and I appreciate you sticking out through the entirety of all of these streams to listen to what we have to say. So without further ado, let's move into our coverage for the night. Nintendo, we knew going in that we were going to have a short presentation, and I think there were some perceptions of what that meant. But personally, I was blown away by this presentation. So I'm not gonna skirt that issue there. It was more than I could have expected, and the way that they did it I thought was great. Guys, what were your general thoughts on how Nintendo executed on their focus of doing this for another year, not on stage? Caleb, what'd you think?
I love the presentation format. I've been out of the Nintendo console world for many generations, so a lot of this was, without getting to the games quite yet, a lot of it was just very new and exciting and fresh to me. So what may be old news to some people, or what may be expected to some people, just was genuinely new to me. So of all the conferences, of all the presentations, this was the one that I felt like the most clueless about, and I think that benefited me personally. So I thought it was great. I love that. I love that style of presentation. That's very similar to what Bethesda did essentially. I mean, there really wasn't anything but video and with Bethesda, and I do like that format. So yeah, I liked it.
Excellent. Ryan, what were your thoughts on how Nintendo pulled it off?
I think it was one of their strongest one in years. I think P1 was saying, maybe he said it, I don't know if he said it on the show yesterday or just personally talking, that he thought they won it last year. I don't remember what happened last year, and I don't think that'll be the case going into next year. I think this year had more moments that stood out to me. So as far as going back, I think it's going back to a couple of years where they really put on a strong showing like this. So this is one of the stronger showings I've seen from them in years.
Excellent. P1, I know that you've got a lot of thoughts toward this presser.
Underwhelming. No. It was this was great. Right from the opening montage right through, there was one point that I was like, this could be a dip, but I sort of expected what was going to happen, and then what I expected happened. I've said it before, I mean, in the last 2 nights, I prefer here's 25 minutes or here's a half an hour of, finally edited announcements, and now we're going to give you 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours of extended gameplay for those who want it to consume it. They did it. They hit a home run with this. It was the perfect way to end the E3 presentation week in my mind. it followed up a couple of other great presentations from the other developers, and this was so good. There were points when 3 grown men were cheering and giggling and laughing about how cute things were in this.
Yeah.
So that's I think that says a lot. And we weren't drinking like our friend Caleb is tonight. Caleb, what are you having over there?
Oh my gosh, what a segue yet again. Today I'm drinking a lovely blueberry lambic. It's a collaboration between 3 Floyds out of Michigan and Mikkeller out of Denmark. Mikkeller is a fantastic brewery. They did the label design here. You can see it's a little Pac-Man-esque. But yeah, a Mikkeller is a fantastic beer that takes risks, including a purple-colored blueberry lambic. So thank you. Back to you, P1, in the studio.
That looks delicious, Caleb. I sure am jealous of your taste buds right now. So back to the Nintendo console, or the Nintendo presentation. Nintendo scheduled this out. They didn't schedule a presentation. They scheduled E3. They said, what are we going to do from June 12th or June 13th to June, whenever this ends, 15th. They planned the week, and it came off that way. It was so well executed. Their presentation, and then immediately when they rolled into Treehouse afterwards to give us that extended gameplay footage that some people really crave, getting to see some of the heavy hitters like Fire Emblem and Mario Odyssey. They also then managed to sneak in a couple of shadow drops of 3DS games, which were noticeably absent in the presentation because they were saying, hey, our future is the Switch. We're focusing on the Switch. But for those of you who have adopted the 3DS and embraced the 3DS, don't worry, you're going to shit your pants.
How likely?
No shortage of that.
How likely do you think that the reason for the pants shitting, which hasn't been mentioned yet, so I won't spoil it, how likely do you think that is to port over to the Switch eventually? Anyway, I mean,
I don't think it happens.
You don't think so?
No, just the graphic fidelity alone, I think we'll keep it on 3DS. 3DS runs at, I believe it's a 480p screen. The Switch does up to 720, and I don't think it would be worth their while to make that jump. But I also thought they were going to keep making NES classics. So
yeah,
surprise. Yeah. Yeah, and I think I don't know. Like there was just so much. It was so well crafted. I think you said that already, but it flowed from one thing to the next. There were a couple little moments where they interjected, the Rocket League guys, and they shared some good information there. We'll get into the specific games and those sorts of things momentarily, but yeah, I think they're only perfecting this model, and I wouldn't be surprised to see the rest take this on. I wonder if you would have seen any of the other ones, right, take this approach, if we would have seen their presentation in a more positive or maybe negative light as a result.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think from a financial standpoint, the more companies that adopt this presentation style, I think the more companies will then jump on board. Because really, and you've said it before, Musty, but people have to remember that the actual conference is the next few days. Like these few days that we've seen, the press conferences, that's not really the conference. Really, what happens is people playing the games on the demo floor and uploading videos and doing news and everything. So it's really starting today for the next few weeks, probably. Honestly, you'll see a lot of the content that really comes out of E3 and that will always remain the focus, and that will always be the focus. So I think these big presenters can get away with foregoing the big conference room space and not spending the money on it and just really broadcasting it live like Nintendo does without having a room, and they'd get by just fine, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't need people hanging from ceilings like Sony did. So I prefer it. Don't get me wrong. It's great. Fantastic.
Or
yeah, that's right. Or Porsches.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, do you guys have any other thoughts on the general approach to the presentation? I mean, if not, we got plenty of games to talk about, and we can always come back to it. So P1, you mentioned the opening montage, and I think you had some specific comments you wanted to make toward that. I open the floor to you.
For anyone who hasn't seen the show, I definitely recommend checking that out. Maybe go watch that and come back to us or check us out after the fact. You'll be able to find us on Musty Hobbit's YouTube channel as well as on the website, www.cartridgeclub.org, where you can actually find all of the recap videos and the incredible write-ups done by our very own Dean Lasagna. So they open up with this montage, and it starts with a peppy hip song. And it's a guy and a girl at a gym who are getting rid of they just clearly had a heavy, sweaty workout, and now they're going to play some arms. And it starts off, it feels like a commercial, but it's sort of upbeat. It's your intro montage. But the very next thing they show, there had been sort of questions of whether or not this would be possible, but nothing confirmed, no rumors, no leaks. The very next thing, so sandwiched in between Arms and Splatoon, they're arguably their two biggest titles for the Switch, especially in esports coming out right now, is the reveal that Rocket League is coming to the Switch. And for them to do that, for them to go, here's Arms, this is our big guns, this is coming out, on the 16th, and then the very next thing you see is Rocket League. I mean, that blew us away watching it live, and I think there were a lot of people who were really surprised to not have had any inkling this was coming. And
nice.
And you missed my reach joke or my stretch joke. Anyway, whatever. And it's cross compatible play with other consoles, Microsoft and PC, not PS4. The same as Minecraft. Just shows that these companies, the ability to work together to make magic happen, is something that is very quickly becoming a reality for us. So pumped. And then it showed Splatoon. I desperately want to find an underground Splatoon fight ring like they were in. I think that's where it's at. It was a great sizzle reel to start the press conference, and it really got the energy up and got me excited for what was to come. Because if they're willing to throw away, like, they're putting an announcement of Rocket League in their sizzle reel at the beginning without nobody coming on stage and introducing it, nothing, no explanation afterwards. If they're opening the press, this is what 1 o'clock Sean thought. If they're opening the press conference with that, what else do they have that they're going to announce today? If Rocket League can be tossed in a sizzle reel, what's coming for us?
Yeah. So let's talk about Rocket League real quick. The big thing that I mentioned, they brought two of the developers. They had two of the developers on for like 30 seconds to talk about it. It looks like there's some Switch specific DLC and some they mentioned like a Mario and Luigi hat for the cars. And then they teased cars that might be coming. But they didn't have anything to announce right now. So what do you guys think? Speculation, Rocket League cars for the Switch version.
I'm curious as to how it's basically going to be a flag, right? I mean, it's going to be a flag for all other players on other consoles and PCs to say that person has a Switch. The control is probably less than good. I'm on a PC. I'm going to go after the guy on the Switch. So they're going to be sort of beaten up on the playground, I think, a little bit, I would imagine. But also it's a fun competitive game that, that's what it is what it is. So my fears probably aren't warranted, but I was also beaten up a lot as a kid. So, it comes back to me. Thanks, Musty.
What? Ryan, how about you? Thoughts on unique Nintendo specific cars for Rocket League? Any thoughts?
I don't care. Sorry. It's a game I know people really enjoy. It's a big thing, but yeah, I don't know. It's an old game. It doesn't excite me. Old. I want new. I know it's new for Nintendo, but don't want this. So
Ryan makes a good point.
Worth.
Go ahead, Musty.
Go ahead. I was gonna. Okay, you or me this time.
I'm muting myself.
Okay, I will go. It's worth mentioning. Yes, this is a 2015 game. Now, one of the things these developers said was it is full featured. It is everything that every other platform has for Rocket League, but we are putting it on Nintendo. And I think P1, you and I were talking about it, and you had said, like, if they had brought in some of that, where they cut out some features, or we're only gonna have 2 players, not 3 players, or like if it was different than every other version, then people are gonna ask the question, why is this old game not running at full capacity on the Switch, and what does that mean for the Switch? Was that where you were going?
Yeah, 100%. So them coming out and saying this is the same game that you're getting that's already on every console, that doesn't mean shit. That means nothing at all. That's not important. But the fact that what would have been detrimental is if they had come out and said, it's coming for the Switch, but we're missing a few features, or we can't do this. The fact that there's nothing to gain by saying, yes, we can run this 7-year-old game and everything that it has and that you run on your Xbox One and your PC, that's not the story. The story would have been if they couldn't run the same game. And I'm very glad that they came out with this.
You also have to remember too, and I think I've been the pessimist, the sort of follow the money kind of pessimist during this entire thing. Esports is big; it makes money, which I think is why I think a lot of the console manufacturers are kind of teaming up, is because they realize that they can. A rising tide raises all boats, so to speak, and if everyone's playing a single game, your console or your PC then become the bat you bring to the plate, right? You get to choose your equipment, but you're all playing the same kind of game, and that's going to benefit everyone. And I think with the esports mentality, you have to realize that games have a longer lifespan than they used to. Esports are games that are supposed to be played for a very, very long time and will be played for a very, very long time. So introducing a game that may be old to contemporary non-esports type games is not really old in the esports arena. It's still very valid and just picking up steam. So I'm not too surprised by it at all.
But yeah, it's certainly a welcome addition. It's something that is unique and is a ton of fun in the hour or so that I have played of it to this day. But
didn't I kick your ass in that when we played?
You did. You recorded that, didn't you? Didn't you say record?
Yep. I watch it after Overwatch matches. You can play the games.
I just remember that Rocket League day. Yep. Yeah.
7-1, Musty. 7-1.
I know. It was bad. I didn't think I could score a goal on myself. Anyways, people don't care about that.
Oh, no, I do. Keep going, please. Keep going.
What some people do care about is Xenoblade 2, which we got a not definitive date, but they're sticking to holiday 2017. I think there was a lot of skepticism there. I think a lot of people had a feeling that may not happen. That it was for sure to get pushed out. And thankfully, I think at least at the moment, it looks like that might not be the case. Now, P1, you played the first Xenoblade, yes. So this seemed to excite you, yes?
Oh yeah. So Xenoblade Chronicles is one of the best RPGs I have ever played. I played it on the Wii with my daughter, and I also played it to completion on the 3DS. And Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is the sequel to that. Now, in watching Treehouse afterwards, they mentioned that they made it a sequel to 2 as opposed to X, because X was more focused on exploration and open world, and Xenoblade Chronicles was more focused on story and characters. And they said they wanted to make a finely written story with well-developed characters. And that excited me. And the teaser trailer that they gave us, or the long trailer they gave us, confirmed some of the rumors that we had from the initial trailer. That girl is a weapon. There are other weapons like that. It just looks it looks gorgeous. It looks like it has the scope and the scale that the original had. And I can't wait. This is a game that if you don't own a Switch, this is a game to buy a Switch for. Very anime. The girl definitely needs pants, but it looked really good.
Race.
Maybe, yeah. And that's not just why I looked at, but it looked so incredible, and I'm very excited. And again, in this one, I think the big story from this isn't that it is still coming; it's that it wasn't delayed, that it wasn't canceled, because there was heavy don't want to say rumors, but people were in panic mode that this game, right from when it was first announced in January, that it was going to get delayed, and it hasn't been delayed. It still says holiday, so still without a definitive date. I'm not sure what we're waiting for, but it still says as of today it's not delayed. I can sleep easy tonight.
Yeah, definitely. Ryan, is Xenoblade 2 something that is destined to be put into your Switch?
Not right away. I started playing the first one and I was enjoying it, but something else came along the way, or maybe I just got tied up with school at the time, so I stopped playing it, and then I just lost track of where I was, and I was already like probably 15 hours into the game, and I know it's probably a small chunk in the game. So for me to probably restart it now, I probably have to restart at the beginning just to kind of remember what I'm doing. I'm sure I can go through it faster, knowing kind of remembering where I was going with the game. But I would want to play that one first, which is also a recurring thing with E3 here. For me is I got to play a previous game before I play another one. So maybe after I play the first one, and then as of right now, the interest is I want to play the first one because I was enjoying what I had with the first one. But I don't know, the characters didn't stand out to me as something yet. It can change over time, but as of right now, I got to play the first one before I can really get interested with this one. So
yeah, definitely. Caleb, big time RPGs.
I'm a big fan. Yeah, I've surprisingly never played the first Xenoblade Chronicles, but unlike Ryan, though, I think I wouldn't mind jumping into this one as my first entry. Usually, those RPGs, either I'm going to follow the story and kind of get it, or I'm simply not. And either way, I usually have a fun time. So I can just go into this one assuming it's a story that I just don't understand, even though people who are fans of the first one may get it just fine. And I think as long as the mechanics are there, as long as the gameplay is there, I'll be happy with it. It's also probably I'm motivated to buy it simply because of the criminal lack of Switch games coming out before the end of the year. I know we're all really hyped about this E3 presentation, and Nintendo's great and everything, but the truth is, at least from my perspective, there still aren't very many games available. And so, I need something. And this is coming out sooner, probably, I would imagine, than some of the others, but maybe not. I don't know. But it's one that I may pick up simply because of that. I was looking at even games like Disgaea, which I've never played any of the Disgaea games, but Disgaea 5's out. I almost picked that one up just because I needed something to play. I was tired of having my Switch collect dust after Breath of the Wild. So I want to spend more money to convince myself that my original purchase was worth it, as illogical as that sounds.
Well, I think judging from what we saw today, I think there is no shortage of stuff that they have at least planned this year. And one of the things that going into this press conference, they had said that we're going to talk about this year, and they lied to us.
Yeah, that was my big thing. Is I was going to ask you to specify a little bit onto all the good games coming out this year, because it seemed like to me most of them were maybe holiday 2017, but a lot of the great ones were even further than that, I would assume. Maybe I missed something.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on Xenoblade? We got we can shift into, there were two reveals that were future reveals, right? For 2018, we had a would look like a multiplayer Kirby game.
Mm-hmm.
And then Yoshi, there was a Yoshi game as well. Let's talk about that Kirby one real quick, because that one, someone was saying that it looked like Return to Dreamland, or one of the more recent versions. Does Kirby excite you as a franchise? Is that something that you needed when you bought your Switches, Caleb and Ryan? Is a Kirby game a system mover if you didn't already have it?
Yeah, honestly, I think it would be for me. It'll be a day one purchase for me, probably, as long as there's a really strong single player kind of side scrolling campaign. I was a big fan of the original Kirby on Game Boy. That's how far back I go with Kirby. And I've really, I've enjoyed every game I've played since then. They're just very well-made, fun platformers with a mechanic that up until recently with Super Mario Odyssey really hasn't really been capitalized upon. And that mechanic of, adopting the personas of other enemies and other things in the world. So I'm excited about it. It's probably going to be a day one purchase for me again, as long as the focus isn't too heavily on multiplayer. but the trailer looks like it might be. So I'm a little skeptical, and I'll keep my eye out for it.
Yeah, for me, I got excited at first, and then I saw the multiplayer. At first, it looked like it was required maybe for some of the levels. I saw a computer where you had to like build a team, and I don't like escorts, like that, and not with the exception of a few games that I think do it well. But when I see multiple ones, it's kind of like it was a little off-putting. I get excited at first. I know you can do multiple, couch co-op with it, but maybe it's more of a sale pickup for me. It went from being maybe a day one pickup for me to maybe somewhere down the road for a pickup for that one. But the Yoshi game, that one was a little bit more interesting for me. I saw Kotaku did a story a little bit later today about how they compared it to Paper Mario, elements of it, and I could see it. Like the jump mechanic, how sometimes when you jump, like the walls will change the other direction, so you get to see like the inside of a house or something like that. That one caught my interest more. Don't know so much if it's a day one must buy, but it's higher on the radar than the Kirby game for me.
Yeah. Well, I think even the Yoshi one, it's not clear. It was very quick. Both of these were fairly quick announcements, so we're still not getting like we have the general gameplay idea. Yoshi looks like a 2.5D platformer to me. Reminded me of Bug on the Saturn. There's some of that running from the foreground and the background, and then going across, and it'll be interesting to see what comes from those. P1 platformer are either of those?
I like both the Kirby franchise and the Yoshi franchise for the same reason. They are easy. So I am not a skilled platformer, and I like fun, cute graphics, and they both provide this. Yoshi's platforming there's no timer, so it's all based on exploration. It wants you to take your time and find things and explore the level. I can do that. I can be slow. And Kirby, in all honesty, if you've ever played a Kirby game, you've beaten a Kirby game. They are very welcoming to newcomers. So these games, while we didn't see a lot of them, we saw enough to tell us that this is a Kirby game and this is a Yoshi game. And yes, Internet, we hear you when you say all Nintendo does is release the same games over and over again. But you know what? We're fucking good at it, and they're awesome games. So here's two more that are going to be fun. And they will both be day one purchases for me. I will play through these with Colleen and probably my daughter. My daughter has moved beyond the Kirby and Yoshi platformers. She is a more skilled gamer than I am, but Colleen and I still enjoy. Yoshi's Woolly World was one of the most fun games we played together, and we love the Kirby franchise. So very excited to see that Nintendo is bringing these franchises that we love to the Switch, and they're not doing some fucking crazy motion control gimmick with a tablet and a stylus and waving your arms around. They're giving me Kirby and they're giving me Yoshi in glorious 720p or 1080p, and I can play it on the toilet.
Well, they do certainly look approachable. Depending on, I was going to try and find some Kirby joke in there about consuming enemies or something, but
come on,
I'm just going to stop.
Man, you suck.
I get it.
By Kirby, you certainly will. So next, they kicked it to the Pokemon creator, and I apologize. I didn't write his name down, and I don't follow the series enough to really. But there was some big news here, right? We had already known that Pokken Deluxe or Pokken DX is coming. There's even a tournament invitational that I think either is going on tomorrow, maybe, of that fighting game. But that wasn't the big news. The big news was that there is a Pokemon coming for Switch. They said they don't know if it, they're saying it may be a year or longer, but they are working on it. It is coming. There will be a core RPG Pokemon from the Pokemon Company coming to Switch. This was one of the biggest news drops, and honestly, the bigger ones are still coming. But this this means a lot for the life of that system, I think. Ryan, what do you think on the potential of a full Pokemon game that can be played on the go or at home?
It's gonna sell units big time. It's I like the classic the Pokemon, the first gen. Not so much. I don't think it's gonna sell it for me. I already have a Switch. I would like to see maybe a little bit different style from the original traditional Pokemon games, for maybe, because they always, even today, from what I'm seeing from the ones on the 3DS and the fans like it, they still generally seem like the same game to me. Generally, and granted, I haven't played, just by looking at the trailers and gameplay, it looks like the same game. I like to see a little bit different if they could. But I already know, just by seeing reaction from friends who only have 3DSs, but they buy Pokemon games every year, and they're posting that, like, as soon as this comes out, I'm buying a Switch. So that's one of the few games they only buy every year. So I know, just besides my friends like that, it's gonna sell units. You got to have one, especially since eventually the 3DS is probably gonna die off, and it can be taken portable. That's one of the things that's great about, I guess, I said about what I liked Zelda Breath of the Wild is for the grinding feature, is I could take it with me and do the grinding, the boring stuff, when I have short time to play around, and then the fun stuff when I'm home to play. So I think that's one of the charms of maybe the Pokemon games.
Yeah. So P1, is this you had a kind of a strong reaction to this one. What do you think of the news?
I'm not much like Ryan. I'm not a Pokemon player. I'm not a fan. The only one I have completed is Alpha Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, the blue one, and Alpha Sapphire. I completed that one. It's the only one I've ever actually completed. I did not complete Pokemon Red for the game of the month. Shock. But I was excited for this for the reason Ryan said. This is the Switch. For the Switch to be successful, you needed to have this. Now, I like how it was given to us? I thought it was amusing. This was, like I said, I mentioned in my initial assessment there that my one dip was when they cut to him on his desk, and as soon as they did, I was like, okay, they're going to announce like a traditional Pokemon for the Switch, and he started talking about Pokken, and I was like, why would they bother showing Pokken Tournament or Pokken Tournament in the sizzle reel at the beginning if they're just going to have this guy talk about it at his desk? They have tons of gameplay footage of that they could show. Something's not right. And then when he came out and flat out said, and essentially this was Nintendo going, all right, listen, people, we fucking hear you. Relax. And then the Metroid fans kept screaming in the background, and they went, oh my God.
I'm excited. Play Metroid. Screw the new stuff. Yeah. I've oh, go ahead.
By all means.
What?
You go.
Yep. Who goes? Me? You. I've never played a Pokemon game, which is probably me saying that is why I kind of said no. You go ahead, P1, because I have nothing really to add, except that I think, like, there were back to my earlier comment about dates, specific dates. I mean, when a game is announced and there's nothing really to show other than either a logo or a guy at a desk talking about it, that tells me that game is a couple of years off. I think that Kirby and Yoshi, those games are, I think those are next year, I think. But Metroid Prime 4 and this Pokemon game, honestly, I would not be surprised if those didn't come up until 2019. Like, to be totally frank, I just think that they're so far off in development. Although Nintendo is full of surprises, as we've learned, maybe that won't be the case. But my fear is that they're just not going to be around for a while, and so they need to have something else for people to buy, something else for Pokemon fans to dive into before 2019. They got to have cash flow going. They got to have money coming in order to keep existing as a business. So.
Yeah, and we do have the Ultra Star and Ultra Moon ones. I heard somebody say they should have just called it Eclipse, and that would have fulfilled both. But I think just for the long term, I mean, to that point, right? For the long term lifespan of the Switch, the fact that we are already potentially talking about games that are 2 years out is a sign.
Yeah.
And it's not that we're putting them out there because we keep pushing them back. It's because we're ahead enough in the game right now, and we have stuff that's coming that you can be patient and get it when it's ready and when it's right. And they will do it. I mean, they will do it right. A Pokemon game, I don't see there being if they had decided to port this Ultra Moon and Ultra Sun to the Switch instead of putting it on 3DS, which I think is still a very strange move. There's got to be some reason for it, but they could have still made this announcement had they done that. It just probably wouldn't have hit as hard, right? Like, they probably also wouldn't have revealed it last week. That's probably the likelihood. But
that's true.
So we should talk about that Metroid trailer.
Trailer.
What trailer?
The slowest title card ever.
But I knew right away. I mean, I don't know. As soon as the blue color, like as soon as you saw a little bit of texture, the music, you knew. And so, but considering Bethesda's pivot when I thought they were revealing something from Fallout and it turned out to be Wolfenstein, I was reserved. I thought, you know what? They're gonna pull a Bethesda. I'm gonna get really excited for no reason. And then what the hell am I gonna do with this boner, right? So I decided to hold off a little bit, and be excited when it actually the text came across the screen. This would be a system seller. I mean, there's already 2 system sellers. Kirby, this one for me, but yeah, I'm so looking forward to it. I cannot wait.
I did not hold back my boner. I went from 6 to noon at the first time. I believe what happened because I was watching it with Musty and Fitnet, and I was on a 2-second delay from them. So they were very gracious. They had, knowing that I'm a bit of a Nintendo fanatic, they had left themselves muted as it was coming up. So the trailer started, and I was like, "We're in space. We're in space!" And then it was just like, "This is it. This is it. We're in space. This is it." As it's panning back, I'm already building myself into a frenzy. And then as the S started to form in the nebula, I prematurely shouted, "It's happening!" Yeah. And when I explained that situation to my wife when she got home from work, she said, "Oh, that's weird. I never see that happen here."
Well, maybe if she were Metroid 4, you would.
So, that's right. But this is another case of Nintendo say, because all we got was a title card, and everybody is super pumped for this. All we got was a title card, but it's another. The one tagline said, is currently in development for Nintendo Switch. Below that could have been, so stop fucking asking. But fun fact, curious fact, worrying fact, Retro Studios is not, I repeat, Retro is not the studio developing this. It is being done by a new team. They have not announced who it is. So we still, as of 9:40 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time, we still do, or Atlantic Daylight Savings Time, we still don't know what Retro is working on.
Yeah.
But we're getting Metroid Prime 4, so who gives a fuck?
Fuck you, Retro.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what they have. Ryan, what did you think of this? Did this do enough for you?
I mean, to me, it was like, okay, it can shut these Metroid fans up. That's kind of, it's like, I mean, every year for the last, I don't know, I want to say the last 5, maybe even 6 years, people have been asking for a new Metroid. And, I call them the vocal minority because it doesn't sell. All you people who are Metroid fans, you better prove it right here. That's all I could say right now. Prime was a fun game. It's not my favorite preferred style of a Metroid game. But I want to see more from this game before I get excited. What excited me after not hearing Retro was not working on it, because at first I heard that I was like, oh, that's off-putting. What would have got me excited for this is if I heard Platinum was making this, but I don't think they're making this. If Platinum was announced for this, or the people who worked on the first couple Dead Spaces, I would have been super excited because I've been asking for years for a Dead Space style Metroid game because I just think that style fits perfectly for that game. But if it's this, people have been clamoring for this for a while. So, like I said, I hope it shuts the Metroid fans up for a while.
I had a similar feeling last year when Shenmue was announced. Because I get tired of hearing, "Please give me a new Shenmue."
That was 2 years ago. No, we've made it way longer than your Metroid fans. So.
Like Cubs fans over there. Just keep waiting.
Here, man. It has happened. The Cubs championship is more real than Metroid Prime 4 right now. Just be real. Let's just be realistic there.
Probably true.
But yeah, this reveal was the thing that everyone on the internet was like, "Yep, not happening, never happening," and keep and the internet was in joy for a good while. After that, I think there were some who wanted more to the trailer. I think P1. I think your trailer idea was awesome.
Yeah. They had actually reached out to me about that, but I copyright. So I wanted to see, for those of you who are familiar with Star Wars, it's sort of a similar scene from the beginning of A New Hope. I wanted to see a bunch of guys, space pirates or what have you, in a hallway, blasters ready, sirens blaring, alarms flashing, sweat pouring on their faces, nervous, with guns trained on a door. And then I wanted the door to either be blasted open. That's what I wanted. The door to be blasted open, and then just smoke and darkness inside the door. And then all you see is the green light illuminating of her visor. I think that is what would have. Now, granted, I had to change my pants after just seeing the title Metroid Prime 4. So had that happened, Musty would have been calling for 911 in Nova Scotia.
It's important to remember, though, that this could be Nintendo saying, "Hey, shut up about it," because all Nintendo had to do was spend 10 minutes making a logo and say it's in development. In development means I'm talking with someone about concepts. Like, that is technically in development. So it's going to be a long time, I imagine. And so they probably are just saying, "Hey, we don't want you to give up on us. We are in development," but they could cancel it just like any developer could cancel something. I just feel it's so early in the process that it's tough to get. I'm super excited about it, but it's tough to be realistically excited about it, I suppose.
Well, excited nonetheless. I think it's totally justified. We got let's see. We talked about Yoshi. We had Fire Emblem Warriors, which is the Team Ninja's involved here, right?
Yeah.
And it is your Hyrule Warriors style game in the Fire Emblem universe. There was a nice extended demo on the Treehouse of the actual gameplay. That was a long demo, but to those who I think were in on this, I think it was definitely good to see a wide variety of gameplay. But P1, you seem excited for this one as well.
Hyrule Warriors was my first Dynasty Warriors game. People had warned me going in that they're not fun, but it was because it was characters that I loved in a world that was easy to play, and I felt good. I like when games make me feel like I'm good at games. That's sort of my thing. So I was very much looking forward to this. I'm a newer fan of the Fire Emblem series. Just been around since Awakening. Thanks. And I'm excited for Fire Emblem Warriors because it looks like a chance to visit with all of these characters. And the Fire Emblem world is so full of unique characters that it's ripe, or it's prime for this style of gameplay. So I was excited about it, and I liked, again, I will reiterate, I liked that in the press conference it was, here's some cinematics, here's some of the characters you can expect, here's the premise of this game. If you want to see more, come on over to Treehouse. We're going to stream it for an hour, and you're going to get as much as you could possibly stomach. I like that. You didn't force 8 minutes of gameplay on me in the middle of your presentation. So let's say I'm not into Fire Emblem, you know what I mean? So there are people who aren't. You don't want to have to sit through 8 minutes of that in the middle of the presentation. That sucks their hype, that drains away the energy from it. You need that bang, bang, bang. And I loved the way that this was done.
Yeah, definitely. Fire Emblem, Ryan, are you, what do you think?
Same like P1, Hyrule Warriors was my first Dynasty Warriors game. I loved it. I bought the DLC for it, and I worry that Fire Emblem Warriors is going to do the same, where they're going to have DLC packs. A little off-putting for a little bit. It's not announced, but I didn't see any of the Treehouse play of it. I only saw from the trailer, but it looked fun. My girl Lucina, aka Lucy, aka Martha, is in the game. I'm all on this. But I loved Hyrule Warriors, so it looks just like more of it with I like the art style of the Fire Emblem series and the looks of most of these characters, and I want to get more into them. I'm like halfway through Awakening, so I would like to finish that because I've really enjoyed my time with that one. But this one definitely, I love hack and slash, and I loved what I got with Hyrule Warriors, so this seems like it'd be a perfect fit. And then I don't know if it's day one must buy, but it'd probably be pretty close to it for me.
That's good. And they announced a couple of amiibo for it as well.
Mm-hmm.
We had, was it Crom and
Tiki. She's a small dragon girl. She's fantastic. If you're playing Fire Emblem, she will fuck your shit up. The quality of the fire, like the amiibo quality since phase 1 has skyrocketed, and I'm very much looking forward to being able to put this Crom next to my old Crom and laughing at my old Crom.
Yeah, I mean, there were at one point today there were 13 amiibo announced, and we can kind of tie them to the games that they are associated to. But they're all in on continuing to push those, and I think that's excellent. There's some really nice designs. I want to hold off on the squishy one. I want to hold off on the squishy one until we get to that game. We'll talk about that in a minute. But there was some for the Mario and Rabbids. No,
it was Mario Odyssey.
Mario Odyssey has
those. So for Mario Odyssey, we can talk about that next. I guess it's the amiibos. There's 3 of them. There is a Mario in a white tuxedo with a top hat, Bowser in a white tuxedo with a top hat, and Princess Peach in a wedding dress. And you have now found the official cake toppers for every video game nerd's wedding for the next 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
They will double as amiibos. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so
they're gonna look weird in their boxes on top of the cake, but
that's true. But hey, you don't want to ruin those amiibos by taking them out of the box.
Weddings are traditionally about unboxing things, so I think we'll be fine. You
better buy a double, better buy 2. One for box on the shelf, not to be touched or played with, and one for, I guess, wedding cakes.
So Mario Odyssey pulled a bait and switch on us, right? They decided to walk out a very realistic looking, T-Rex, and then suddenly turned around and there's a red hat on it. And then from underneath the red hat hopped out Mario. From where? Inside the T-Rex. How did that happen? This trailer was the moment what you mentioned earlier where 3 grown men were giggling and talking in like children, and it was awesome. I am more excited about this game than I was when they announced it in January. The hat mechanic and the fact that his hats, which all have analogs from previous Mario games, even the sombrero was from Kicks apparently on the Game Boy. But that's how he gets his powers, is he swaps his hat. There's a safari one, and there's the sombrero and a few others they showed. There is the white top hat. There looked like there was a not white top hat as well, or a black top hat. but what you can do now is any enemy you can effectively take control of that enemy by throwing your hat at it, and then that enemy then gains the hat and a mustache, and so you can become a Bullet Bill, you can become a blooper, you could become a one of the fireballs that pops out. You can P1, you had a favorite.
Be a fucking cheap. I can't swim in real life, so the thought of being a graceful undersea creature is appealing to me, and cheaps are awesome.
It was just so playful. You could even take over the humans in New Donk City.
Yeah. I also want to be a Bullet Bill.
Which I think a Chomp would be good.
Yes,
Chomp would be pretty restrictive by nature, though, right? I mean, you wouldn't be able to...
see, Chain Chomp would be restrictive. Chomp is the smaller version of Chain Chomp who is free to roam.
You got me. Sorry. I've been faking it this whole time. I don't know who Mario is.
If you look to your right, he's that guy's brother.
Oh, I get it now.
Oh, you mean Red Luigi? Okay, got it.
Yeah, Red Luigi, of course.
But yeah, I really of this reveal, aside from the Metroid piece, like this was, I was like, they have to show it, and then suddenly they bring out a T-Rex, and then this happens. It's just like this was the convention of dinosaurs and bears, right? We had, and then suddenly that happens. And it was I thought it was great.
I think what they're doing is they're trying to take the Super Mario Brothers movie from the 90s, and they're trying to bring that to video game format, which I think is a great idea, right? They have this dinosaur, they have the New York City kind of scenario. They're really trying to make Super Mario Bros. The movie legitimate.
They're retconning.
They are. I think that's what they're doing. And you know what? I'm excited about it. I think this theory is further shown by the fact that Super Mario Odyssey is very theatrical, as you can tell. It's a lot of jazz hands type maneuvers, hats, dance, that kind of stuff, which a movie by nature is theater. So I think there's some meat there. Someone actually told me, on a serious note though, someone told me that it's possible that there are going to be some throwbacks or at least some nods to Super Mario Brothers 3. With the whole idea of a theater and that sort of thing, because I don't know, Super Mario Odyssey just felt very theatrical to me. That it felt like it was trying to be flamboyant and over the top and top hats, that sort of thing. So I'm really more interested than I really thought I was going to be. I mean, this hat mechanic does look pretty cool, so I'm very excited about it.
Yeah. Ryan, what are your...
They managed to keep the lid on this hat mechanic for so long.
God. You can control his mute button, right, Musty?
I sure can.
Well, hats off to him for that joke, though. I mean, it was pretty good.
You bowlered me over. Ryan, what's your take on Mario Odyssey? Are you happy? I know that this is one of the ones that was they're putting everything behind it. And we have a release date. I forgot to mention that.
What's the date before
October 27th, the day when there were 3 games that were announced today that come out that one, and nobody cares about the other 2.
Give me the other 2 first before I go on.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Wolfenstein.
Wolfenstein was one of them.
Yes. Next.
What's the other one?
That's going to tell us here in the chat in a second.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Duke says that
it was a PS1. Assassin's Creed.
Assassin's Creed. Okay.
Yeah, no one cares about that either.
So Duke's in the chat. Hold on, Duke's in the chat. He says that's 3 jokes, a hat trick.
Zing. Mario 64 is my favorite Mario game of all time. I know I always go back and forth debating between that and Super Mario World, but I play Mario 64 every year. Not to completion, but it's one of the games I just love to put in and play. And I love the game. It's phenomenal. And I've never had, I think, a proper sequel or a great follow-up, in my opinion. Galaxy is pretty good. I hate Mario Sunshine, but I've never been more excited for a Mario game right now. This is like, from the trailer, from all the new things that you can do with it. They've changed Mario again. That's one of the things that Mario is always used to seem to have. An evolution every time there's a new game come out. There always seems to be something new about it. But in the hat mechanic, it seems simple, but the fact that he can like morph into a T-Rex or morph into almost anything. I think I saw, and I don't know if this is real because I saw an image, and I need to see the trailer one more time. But I think you can become a taxi cab in New York. I thought I saw a hat on a taxi cab.
A hat on a cab, a hat on a tank.
The world's like huge. I mean, I could just see myself getting lost in this game. There's no timer. I can just like explore. This is one of those games I just get lost and put like easily over 100 hours into this game. It just looks great. I don't know. I'm really, this is a day one must buy for me. So
I watched a couple of the Treehouse segments on it, and you can turn into a tree. Like it looks. I wasn't interested in this at all. This game was going to be something I was going to pass up. Now it's become a must buy for me. It's amazing how Nintendo can do that. Just turn it around like that. Before we move on, I just want to make sure we're putting a cap on the hat jokes, or I just want to be certain.
Why must you berate us with all of this jokes?
I didn't think you took it so seriously.
You guys are dunces. No?
It's a hat. Okay, it's a kind of hat. I'll let it pass. That's good.
We tried. I tried. So Super Mario Odyssey. Come to find from the demo stuff, his little vehicle is called the Odyssey. So that's where whatever's taking him to these worlds, and the variety. I will say the variety in the trailer looks pretty good. There's a lot of different locales. I mean, that I think screams, minus the cityscape, screams Super Mario 3. Just as much, right? There was clearly a desert. There was clearly an ice world. That's standard fare for a Mario game, but it's good to just see. It's good to just see that. But yeah, so October 27th, that'll be coming out. That is the week after the Portland Retro Gaming Expo. FYI. So yeah, be prepared. They also quickly brought up Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom. What was the last word? Kingdom Battle.
Yeah. We talked about this yesterday.
We talked about it yesterday. I don't think that they announced the actual release date yesterday, though. But they did today. That game is going to be out on August 29th. We will have that. The tactical, the Mario XCOM, basically, if you want to consider it that.
Yeah, I had a friend who made a very important comment. He said, "Why does Mario need a gun? Mario is a gun. He's literally a gun when he has a firepower flower." So I don't know. I know we've talked about this whole gun thing a lot, but it's just weird because it is redundant to have him have a gun. So I don't know, but I'm still excited about it. Hasn't changed since yesterday.
Yeah. So then they talked Breath of the Wild a little bit, and there was some news on this. They reiterated the Zelda Skyrim. At first, I know P1, you and I talked about it. It's like, why are we dedicating time to stuff that they showed already? Mario plus Rabbids, the Zelda announcement, and I think in general, I think it's quite possible there are people who didn't think to watch Ubisoft or Bethesda to catch those things. And so that's why they interjected. Both were fairly quick. So I found that in this presentation ended up being only about 24 minutes, according to the actual like clipped down YouTube video for it. So they actually had to fill some time, I think, if they wanted to make it to the full half hour. But yeah, so we have Master Sword and the Breath of the Wild outfit for Skyrim. I assume that won't be the end of it. There'll probably be more. They did go through the Breath of the Wild DLC, both packs. So this was new information. They had talked about the first DLC pack already. And I didn't catch a date. I don't remember. Did you guys see a date on either of those?
June 30th for the DLC Pack 1, Holiday 2017 for DLC Pack 2.
So are you guys, all three of you, Breath of the Wild aficionados? Are you buying the DLC? I remember the discussion we had when they announced it about like it needs to be tangible. I need to know what it is. Is this
not for me? I spent 70+ hours in that world, and I loved every hour of it. But I've moved on, and I just don't know that I will jump back into it. And that's the thing with me with a lot of DLC. So this DLC isn't unique to that. I will say one of the things that distances me a little bit more from this particular DLC is that it almost just feels like I don't know. I don't feel like that they really revealed enough about it. It's basically what seems like to me just like a challenge mode. The gameplay they were showing was entirely from within a shrine, I think, and at least in one of the missions, as they could be called. And those are the most boring parts of the game. So I don't really know. I need to know more about it. And considering it's one of them coming out this month, I think P1 was saying, I'm just not interested in it. But I want to be convinced. So if either of you two are on board, definitely convince me. Sell me on it.
So I am going to get it, but I'm not going to try and convince you because then if you do get it and you're unhappy, you blame me. You tie these feelings to me, this anger, and I don't need any more anger tied to me. What I will say though is why I'm going to get it. So I wanted it for the story mode. Now I have played through and completed Breath of the Wild on the Wii U. My wife is currently gathering all the Korok seeds, but everything else is done. We loved it. At some point, I'm going to own a Switch, and it's my intention to then play through this again on the Switch and experience it in all of its handheld glory. But I loved the characters, the champions, Mifa, Garuk, or Daruk. I can't remember all their names. Anyway, I really enjoyed them. The story DLC appears to be that you're going to play through what happened to them to get you to the point that you have lost this fight. It's about the champions. So whether it's them becoming the champions or it's their fight with the Thunderblight Ganon and the Fireblight Ganon and losing, I'm on board for that. In order to get that, you have to buy both packs. So it's the $20. You get both packs. And I am looking forward to, while the shrines were not the most exciting part of the game, I am looking forward to the trial of the sword. With the way it's laid out. At first, I thought it was just going to be kill a monster, but it looks like mini puzzles and everything. It looks like Eventide Island and 50 or 100 levels of it to unlock the Master Sword as a weapon that you don't have to replace, that never breaks. That is reason enough for me. I don't need that map mode. I don't need all the new costumes, although the Tingle one is weird. But I want that story DLC. I would love to be able to buy it on one and have it carry over to both. I don't think that's going to happen. And the new amiibos look incredible, except for the questionable placement of the stand for Urbosa, the Garuda lady. Yeah. Other than that, they look incredible. I'm
Japanese
really excited.
People love looking under skirts. It's a weird thing in the Japanese culture. If there's a skirt, it's got to be lifted. It's just a thing.
Skirt.
But I am excited for that story mode. The opportunity to experience more of that world with those 4 characters. That has me very hyped, and I think that'll be worth $20. But
that Korok mask might help in the pursuit.
She's got a map. We bought a guide, and she's using the map. She's marking off in pen every time she finds one, which drives me crazy. But it's hers. We bought it for her birthday. She wanted the guidebook, so she was like, "Do you mind if I mark on this map?" I said, "Well, it's your map. You do what you want with it. Pass me my red pen." Okay.
She's gonna bedazzle all of your amiibos next.
Yeah. I keep those locked.
Ryan, how about you? DLC for Zelda? I know you went through and did all the shrines.
I was a little deflated by the news of the story DLC. I wanted it. It feels like I'm going back already through the game, and I guess I'm trying to say is like, all right, I beat the game. I already know what happens, so I think how it seems like it's story that was taken out of the game, and I wanted something after, like what takes place after this, or even I know it takes place way before, but it feels like out of place. For in my opinion, it just feels out of place. Am I gonna get it? Yeah, I love Zelda. I will come back to this game. My I guess I don't know if they're gonna set up this way where I don't know if it would bother me a little bit if they did it this way, where if you played it again with the DLC, that the story would match up going into it. That would bother me a little bit because it would make me feel like I would have to replay the game. But who knows? Like I said, I love Zelda. I think by the time this comes out, the story DLC, I will want to probably jump back into this world again. I'm a little worn out from it because I put 110 hours into Breath of the Wild. But I think by the time the story mode comes out, I'd be probably willing to pick it back up for another, I don't know, 20, 30 hours. So
Excellent. Yeah, I'm playing Breath of the Wild on Wii U currently. I think that I don't know that I will buy the DLC on the Wii U, but if it switches in my future, and I think having Breath of the Wild just makes sense. I think that the identity of the Switch right now is Breath of the Wild. There were more at that one point when they shared that number. There were more copies of Breath of the Wild out there and sold than actual Switches. So everyone's got them, or at least there are enough out there for everyone to have them. So there's no shortage of copies of that game. So I think if I get it on the Switch eventually, that would be a great way to address a secondary playthrough. Would be to then have the DLC for that, which I think would be great. So moving on, that was pretty much the extent of the press conference. They also brought up the fact that at E3 they're going to have some tournaments and invitationals for kind of their big competitive ones, Pokken, Splatoon, being the two big highlights there. There's no pickup basketball game or something happening. That's a good idea. But then the Treehouse started, and this, like as P1 said, this was their chance to show that gameplay, the stuff that you were expecting to see when the presentation was going, because that's just how we've been trained. That's how E3 has been sold to us year after year after year. And the Treehouse, I think it was convenient because we were at home, so it was easy for us to be able to just sit and watch it, or work on our rooms and watch it. For the average user, they're just going to get whatever information. So we're watching it, right? And we were just sort of chatting, and all of a sudden they say, hey, we got a world premiere. Reggie was on there with his fancy stencil shirt that he had going on, and they say, yep, we have a game for the 3DS. We're going to announce. And actually, I don't want to talk about that one just yet. I want to talk about the later announcement that came up, because I want to end on that last little bit. Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga Remake and plus Bowser's Minions announced for 3DS. So they're remaking Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. I have not played that game, so I really don't have a basis for comparison or any basis to kind of speak on that. But they're saying October 6th. Thoughts on this? Are you guys fans of the series? Are you looking forward to this? P1.
We were unable to emulate Game Boy Advance games on the 3DS because it's too difficult. Except for the 20 Ambassador Program games that we gave in the first year of its life. And don't worry, we're just going to remake them all and sell them at full price. I have Superstar Saga on Game Boy Advance. I'll play it on that. But for those people who don't have it, I'm a big supporter of remakes and re-releases of games, because anything that takes the games that are fun and puts them in the hands of people who didn't have the opportunity. Not everybody has a Game Boy Advance. Now I realize that everybody watching this stream and everybody on this discussion probably have one, but we are a very small group of people in the grand scheme of things. Of the 40-some million 3DS owners, there are probably only a handful of those that have Game Boy Advances. So for them to be able to do this, and it is, I imagine, padding the life of the 3DS a little bit, but I'm okay with that because the 3DS has been good to us, and we should continue to be good to it, at least until the Switch can fully stand on its own.
Yeah, most definitely. Caleb, Brian, either of you guys have thoughts on this announcement?
Despite P1's assumptions, I do not have a 3D Game Boy Advance, and I have not played these games, so I'm a terrible human being.
No, you're not. Not terrible.
Pretty terrible though, right?
If the hat fits.
God.
For myself,
in your breath, how excited you were to say that. I could get the sense that you were like.
It was certainly better than my. It was better than my dunce comment.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. I gave you a hard time, but that's just my shtick. It was good.
I was gonna say for myself, I don't have any fondness for this series. I've heard they're good. It's just, I don't know, maybe somewhere down the road for sale. It's never really piqued my interest. I rather play the Paper Mario series for a Mario RPG. So I don't know, maybe somewhere down the road. Nothing get me excited about.
Yeah. What about the amiibo? Are you want a Koopa and a Goomba amiibo?
Nope.
No. P1, you want the Koopa and Goomba amiibos?
Yeah, I'll be buying both of those. I have
this
them
is
all.
just a given, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I want it.
Got to catch them all.
Wait a second.
Could you imagine if they put out a Pokemon line of amiibo?
I would. Well, I didn't buy the animal. I have them all. I didn't buy the Animal Crossing ones, but I have all of the ones. Most of the ones that I like. I'm still missing Boo. So if anybody out there has a line on a Boo amiibo, let me know.
Okay. Excellent. So that wasn't the only announced game for 3DS. The other one, which I was alluding to, and then, and I. From our reaction when we were watching this, like, I had no idea they were going to drop this, and the comments that were made were something along the lines of,
"What is happening?
How does a game that wasn't even part of your that got shadow dropped in after your press conference automatically hyped bigger than most of everything else that was done throughout the entirety of the rest of the press conferences?" They announced, so last year there was AM2R, which was the Metroid 2 fan remake, that got shut down. I think we know why now. So Nintendo is doing a reimagination of the Game Boy title Metroid 2 Return to Samus, and this is Metroid Samus Returns. And it looks magnificent. And it looks like it's almost in final form too, because it's coming. Rumors are September, right?
September 16th is the release date.
September 16th. So in 3 months, those of us who have a one of the 3DS family of consoles will be able to play a 2D Metroid, or 2.5-ish D Metroid game. So they decided to tell the fans, we heard loud and clear. Here is at least this, and maybe this can tide you over until Prime 4 is ready. Mm-hmm. Although it's quite possible there's those may not be the same crowd. The 3D Metroids and the 2D Metroids don't always play.
Yeah.
Together.
Yeah, there's two types of Metroids. Well, there's 3 types of Metroid fans. There's the fans that just want it all, give it to me, get it inside me. There's the 2D side-scrolling fans, the traditional Metroidvania fans, and then there's the Prime fans. And all of these people have been asking for a remake of some kind or a game of some kind for years. And Nintendo in complete Nintendo fashion, being out of touch with all of their fans. Instead of just giving us one Metroid game like we asked for, went and gave us 2. Like, come on, Nintendo, get it together. And credit to Trev. Credit to Trev for that. But it's being done by Mercury Steam. It's the same guys who did Castlevania, Lords of Shadow, Mirror of Fate on the 3DS, which is one of my favorite 3DS games. And it looks fantastic. I cannot wait.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Caleb, you had missed this. We managed to tell you about it right before we started the presentation tonight. So, what do you think on this?
I'm super excited. I mentioned before we started recording that Super Metroid is my absolute favorite game of all time. The last true Metroid game I played really was Prime for the GameCube, the first Prime game. So it's been a long time. I mentioned in the last hangout the last wrap up that I skipped a good chunk of consoles between the PlayStation 2 and what I have now, the PlayStation 4. Several consoles, haven't touched a Nintendo console since the GameCube. Now, but I have the Switch now, so I missed a lot, and so I'm really looking forward to jumping into this. I truly do feel like I feel bad for the rest of you because I don't think you guys are going to quite be able to feel the sort of rush of nostalgia goodness that I'm going to be able to feel with this. I'm putting it on a pedestal, but I think it's a pedestal that can support my expectations. I'm hoping anyway.
Yeah, I think it looks. The demo was good. The demo also felt like it went long, but I think for those, not everyone felt that way. She died on like she was fighting one of the bosses, and I think she didn't want to end on not beating said boss, and so I think she died 3 or 4 times, which was actually kind of nice to see. Most gameplay demos are there's some flavor of God mode in there so that they look good doing it. She was just playing the game, and I thought that was great. But the way they revealed it, like that could have been in the presentation, but they promised that this is going to be about the Switch. This is going to be about what we're expecting. They said this year, and they were fibbing about that, and then they go and they do this, 20 minutes after the presentation, and it's just like. Everyone's pulse was already here, and then all of a sudden they hit that as well. It's just like, wow. Ryan, I want to get your thoughts on this too.
Boo Metroid.
So,
that's my response for Ryan. Yeah.
Boo Metroid. Bah humbug. No. What's it called? It looks great. I stopped. There's a point in time where I dipped out because I went to go get lunch right when the Treehouse was going on. So when I stopped at my local Taco Bell for lunch, I pulled out my phone while I was waiting for my order to come out, and then sure enough, one of the top things on Twitter I see is Metroid for 3DS, and it's like, AK, we're not shitting or something, and bullshitting you or something like that. And I was like, what? So sure enough, I started scrolling through to find something. I saw the trailer, and then I messaged P1 right away. I'm like, what is this? I started seeing the trailer. I'm like, this kind of looks more like some of the Metroids from Metroid 2. And then sure enough, more details start trickling out over the lunch break. And it turns out it's a remake of Metroid 2 made by the people who made the Castlevania 3DS. The Castlevania on 3DS. So I'm like, oh, okay, you got my attention now. I'm happy for it. I probably will pick it up day one. I kind of I wonder. Well, it makes me happy because after I beat this, I can finally advance on to Super Metroid, which is essentially Metroid 3. Because I've only beat Zero Mission in Prime. So, staying in for the platform order, the 2D versions, I got to do 1, 2, 3 first.
Have you not played Super Metroid?
What?
Technically, Ryan, you have to beat Prime 2, Prime 3, and then Prime 4 because they take place before Metroid 2.
Those are your rules. Not my rules. Those are your rules. No, I do want to play it. It makes me. It looks really good. I hope. I wonder if it's going to have, and I hope it has a feel. I kind of want to compare it to Zelda: Link Between Worlds, where people forever were asking for a sequel kind of to Link to the Past, and they kind of got it. I personally thought it was better than Link to the Past. I really enjoyed that a lot. So I kind of hope that, not saying this is to be better than Super Metroid, but I hope it stays in that nostalgia lineup, basically. That, famous word, nostalgia, not nostalgia.
Did you say nostalgia?
Nostalgia.
Okay.
Sorry. No, it looks really good. It was probably one of the biggest shocking moments for me at E3 this year. Because I guess they were saving it because it's almost done. It's just a couple months away. You think with how people have been asking for Zelda, they could have showed it at last year's E3. It's that would have been earth shattering. I think people would have been happy, but I think it looks great. And like I said, I don't know. That's all I could say about it. It looks great. So
yeah, I think this is this makes quite a case for. I mean, so I have not historically been a lately I haven't been a mobile gamer, right? I don't have I have portable consoles, but I barely use them, and there's been a growing feel of that being a good gaming space for me to be in. So I have, not in response to this, I've done this before, but I have pre-ordered a 2DS XL. I'm looking forward to getting that. This is absolutely we'll pick it up 100%. If I can get that special edition, I will. I'm nervous about that, but
good luck to everyone in the Cartridge Club on this one. I will be monitoring, Best Buy's pre-orders when they go on sale, so I get that discount.
Yeah. I mean, I will jump on Amazon the second I see if I see that it's live. I will go get it.
You can pre-order the base game now, not the special edition.
There's gonna be plenty of those base games. I'm not worried about that.
Okay. I mean, I will wait until I have my chance to get the special because I'm sure I won't be the only one. Or maybe I should just pre-order the regular now and have the pre-order locked in. And yeah, I will. Yeah, This makes a even bigger case for moving into that 2DS XL. So I think I'm pretty excited about that.
I want to say one more thing before I move on from Metroid, because I think, I know you say you got to get in the 2DS, but I hope it takes advantage. Now, it doesn't translate, in my opinion, as well over the screen scene like the 2DS format, but how beautiful I thought Link Between Worlds was on through the 3D. I hope they can capture that with this Metroid. So, sorry.
They shocked us. That was a great way to kind of cap off all of the presentations. We still had the trickle of information from some of the other guys, but Nintendo decided to hold that ace until the end and just destroyed it.
So last week or 2 weeks ago on Weekly, Mark and I talked about game announcements. When should you do them, sooner or later? And I was a big advocate of do them as late as possible. Tell me that this game is ready a month and a half, 2 months before it comes out. And Mark said, no. Tell me as soon as you start thinking about making it so I can stop fucking worrying about it. Nintendo did both today with Metroid. Mark got Prime 4, and they told him, relax, it's coming. You'll see it in a couple of years. And I got told, oh, by the way, in September, you're playing Metroid 2. I fucking love Nintendo.
Yeah, they balanced that line, right? There wasn't too much that's, barring, yes, some of these things could be pushed back. That's nothing is certain until it's actually in our hands. But the prospects for the Switch are definitely trending. They were already trending in the right direction, and this I think is definitely going to turn that arrow as P1 up to noon, right?
It's high noon. I think we're safe. These aren't, anytime Nintendo has given a date it has been maintained and kept. They don't give dates easily. When they give ranges, holiday,
It's the
summer,
seasons. It's the seasons part.
those get pushed. That's why I'm still sort of nervous about Xenoblade. But they gave dates. These games, Nintendo they're not a company that they don't miss dates. They said this is coming on September 16th. That game will be out September 16th.
Yeah. And that's fantastic. I cannot wait. That's going to be a ton of fun. Yeah, so that was Nintendo. Of course, we've been seeing you guys comment. We are definitely interested in getting your thoughts on that. So again, hit up the forums. Let's hear what you think about the Nintendo press showcase and all the other press conferences as well. We want to kind of put a bow on this whole thing. We've done what is now closing in on 8 hours of streaming over the past 3 days. So I know
is that all?
Oh, yeah, that's it. On top of watching the press conferences and all of that, this has been a strenuous event. But I've enjoyed so much of what came out of all of these different shows. So I wanted to take some time to kind of highlight the things that came out of those conventions. But I want to ask some questions because not all of us have all of the consoles that are out there. So I want to ask, and I'm going to pinpoint this toward each of you guys. But I will go first. I am the Xbox guy. I don't have a Switch. I don't have a PS4. So basically for me, the including the announcement of the Xbox One X, what I will ask you guys is, have these companies sold me on any of these consoles? And so I will say the One X fits right into what old Musty would have done. That would have been a day one purchase for old Musty. It's still very tempting, but the allure for a Xbox One S is actually still quite high. There's still a lot of features for someone with a 4K TV on that console. I don't know, the $500 price tag, considering some of the other stuff that's being put out this year, might be a little bit difficult. But if they had come in at $400, I think I would have been immediate Xbox One X day one adopter and broken my promise to myself to not be a day one adopter.
You made a whole video about it and everything. Come on.
I know. Well, I was setting the stage for this, right? Just because the triumphant return of the early adopter guy. But they didn't. That machine looks awesome. The gameplay on the stuff, or the videos, the visuals of the games that they showed, especially in 4K, are unbelievable. And I think the stuff I saw actually is what made some of those other press conferences seem like they had unpolished things. My eyes had become attuned to this higher fidelity, and then suddenly that happened.
4K snob.
4K snob. That's right. That's right.
Hashtag
4K snob. I think so. I'm probably a wait on a price cut for a 1X, but the 1S is still quite alluring. I think that I could find a good price on those. They're on my Facebook Marketplace all the time. So there's lots of people. There will be tons of people who want to move their 1S to get a 1X as well. As far as Sony goes, I was thinking about a PS4 Pro. And I'm also thinking about a Switch. I think between the two, because money is not unlimited, between the two, my prospects of a Switch are higher right now than a PS4. And that's not to say that I'm not still interested in a lot of what PS4 is going to have exclusive-wise, but the stuff I saw today, that was what I wanted, and that's what was a lot of that is what I was missing from January when they did the initial announcement, because I said at that point it's not ready for me. The games aren't there now. The games, I'm starting to see the future on this, and so I think at that point for me, I think I'm leaning more toward, if it's between Switch and PS4 PS4 Pro, it would probably be Switch first if I only could get one of the two. With that said, I have moved on. I'm going to do a 2DS XL. I'm going to get into that library. So I'm excited there. But I want to ask you guys. So Caleb, you currently have a PS4 and a Switch. Has Sony sold you on a PS4 Pro? Have they sold you on PSVR? I know the answer to this already. And then the Xbox, any of the Xbox family. What did this showing do for you?
It didn't sell me on any of the enhanced versions of existing consoles, whether that be PlayStation Pro or whether it be Xbox One X. Like, that's just beyond what I care about. So, but the core systems themselves, to me, the two systems, Xbox and PlayStation, they're so similar that to have a discussion about which one you really want to take is sort of a futile discussion in a lot of ways. You got to really pay attention to the exclusives, right? And for my money, the exclusives are better on PlayStation, but that's also probably because I am more familiar with PlayStation. So of course I'm going to be leaning toward that. I just didn't see that there were any specific exclusives for Xbox One that I was particularly interested in, or that I was interested enough in to buy a new system other than Cuphead. That's really the only one that I'm like, that I gotta play. And so as the One X gets released and maybe I start seeing some price drops on the Xbox One, there's a good chance I could potentially consider Cuphead a game that costs $300, just because I'm that excited about it. But I'm glad that I still, to be completely transparent, when it comes to the Switch, I honestly could have waited. I could have waited until seeing E3 before I spent money on the Switch, because right now it is just a Zelda machine. And for me anyway, there's no other games out there that I even care to play. I've tried buying games and they let me down every time. So this conference would have been enough to say, yeah, I got to get a Switch, but I still don't have to get a Switch for another few months. And so there was nothing super mind blowing for me except knowing that Metroid Prime 4 is coming along. So.
Excellent. So Ryan, you currently have all three of the major consoles. You have a 3DS. What about
Switch?
You have a Switch. You have a 3DS also,
Yeah.
and then you've got a PS4, and you have a regular model Xbox.
Correct.
The original Xbox One. The original. Have they sold you on a PS4 Pro, VR, and the X?
I see 4K and it's beautiful, but I didn't see. No, I'll say this. I'm leaning more towards the PS4 Pro because of the exclusives more than the Xbox One Scorpio or Scorpio X. And it's just because of the exclusives, because seeing God of War, seeing Spider-Man, I want to see these games running at their best possible, I want to see what I saw in those trailers, and that's more like the line of what they were showing. But I didn't see. I wish they would have price drop, and it's hard to justify spending another few $100s just to buy, especially when I don't have a 4K TV. One things I didn't hear enough from both Xbox and PlayStation is that I wanted to hear that these games are going to run better. Not just that they look better. I want to hear that they are going to run better on here too. That should have been more of a focus point in my opinion. Not so I could say right now, not at this time. Not saying Black Friday can't change your mind or a TV going out, because I know if I get a 4K TV, it's going to be awfully tempting to not buy the PS4 Pro, just because I want to take full advantage. I want to, it's just the VR. I'm glad they're supporting it, but I need more killer apps for it, and a price drop. And I'm not saying it's a bad price because it's still fairly new technology. Mm-hmm. It's just that same thing with the Pro. I really wish I would saw a $50 price drop for both the VR and the Pro. I think $500 is the best you could do for what the Scorpio is offering. I mean, like that's probably the lowest you can go with what's in there without not taking a hit to pick up a hit. But I mean, I don't mean to go on a tirade here about Xbox, but I think if they could have saved a bigger deal for it, it makes me kind of not want to advance onto the Xbox One X, is if they would have said that original line Xbox can only run on the Xbox One X, would have been a bigger selling point, at least for me.
To
now
restrict the using the backwards compatibility and to make that an exclusive piece to. Is that what you mean? Okay.
Just give a BS line or something like that, because now I know that it will work on my OG Xbone. I don't need to advance. I mean, I can't wait. I can't wait to see it running, those games running on my OG Xbox One X or whatever, not Xbox. But that's the thing. It's like they didn't give me enough incentive to want to jump to the next level. And like I said, maybe when I get a 4K TV, that's gonna be really scratching my neck to do. But at this time, I want them. And I want to see these games at their best level. And I imagine even the Xbox One exclusives, once I start seeing like those really ones that really take Forza 7 isn't going to do it for me. But maybe, I don't know. I'm trying to think. Just give me some more exclusives, and you're going to really start, getting at my nerves. So,
sure. Very good. Very good. Okay, so P1, you already have an Xbox One S. You already have a PS4 Pro, so we won't talk about that part. You've already kind of echoed your thoughts on VR, but if you want to mention them again, that's fine. But did Microsoft sell you on a One X, and did Nintendo sell you on a Switch?
I can honestly say that I didn't see anything at all during the C3 that has made me feel that I need to purchase any consoles that I don't already have. The X, I have my S, that's fine. I have my PS4 Pro, that's fine. My next major purchase will be a 4K TV to take full advantage of those. And as far as Nintendo goes, yes, their press conference today was fantastic. A lot of great hits, a lot of stuff that I was really excited to see. But I bought a Switch last Wednesday, so I don't need to get one of those.
Yay!
Well, you buried the lead there.
Yes.
Yeah. So I have a Switch already. I'll be tweeting out my friend code.
All right, I can't wait to like ignore that. That's gonna be great.
Oh no, I'm not gonna tweet it to
you. Well, it'll save us both time then.
Well, good. So then, I mean, clearly from everything they showed today, obviously
you're one happy customer, right?
People,
right, yeah. I am super excited about my purchase. Can't wait to start playing more. The offer I got was too good. I saved $60 on the price of a unit. It was a new unit, so couldn't resist it. Very happy, thrilled for what I've seen. Can't wait to start taking full advantage of it. Really looking forward to Eric also getting one so we can all play Rocket League together.
And pooping while playing.
That's right.
Rocket League in the bathroom.
Yeah, we will only play from the bathroom from now on.
What I used to always do in the bathroom, I called Rocket League 2, and now there's a freaking game about it. I don't get it, man. I get it. That doesn't mean anything, guys. Don't look into that.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's move into some of these other quick highlights. I don't want to. Was hoping to kind of wrap things up in the next 20 minutes. I think we can still do that based on the stuff we have. But let's move into our highlights of the show. I want to give five games. If you want to rank them. But let's do 5 games that you're each excited to play. Let's start with Ryan. Ryan, what 5 games that you saw today are you most excited for, or are you a definite go purchase when they come out?
I'm gonna say for the 3 days at E3. I'm gonna say. Not just today. This is my top 5. I ranked them today at work.
Oh yeah, sure.
So
yes. Let me preface. Not just today. The entire presser. Let's say. What are the 5 that are the like must-haves for you?
For me, number 1, Mario Odyssey. After seeing what I saw today, that's my number 1 game coming out of E3. It looks just phenomenal. Number 2, Spider-Man. Like I said yesterday, It's my favorite superhero growing up as a kid. The fact that it's in like an Arkham style game gets me super excited, and I can't wait to see what how it plays even more. Number 3, Metroid 2 remake for the 3DS. That, like I said earlier, I was at the point where I was glad that in the showing today for Nintendo that they didn't really focus on the 3DS. They focused mostly on the Switch, because I want, it's gonna sound awful, I want the 3DS to die. I want all their developers to focus only on games for the Switch. I want hardcore Switch attack. Sorry, 3DS fans out there, stop making games, Nintendo, for that console. But after seeing Metroid 2, I want that for my 3DS. Number 4.
About it, Ryan.
Sorry. It's a dying console. I'm sorry. Number 4, the new God of War. Big fan of the series. Can't wait to see what they're doing with it. I like the direction they're going with it. And number 5, Life is Strange, the prequel. I was a huge fan of the first game, so I can't wait to see what they're going to do with it. All these games seem to be day one purchases. I know Life is Strange right now is a DLC, so I might hold off just to see if there's a physical copy release. But yeah, those are my top 5 right now at the moment.
Okay, excellent. Caleb, let's go to you next. What 5 games are you most excited to play / instant day one purchase for you?
Metroid Prime 4, Super Mario Odyssey for sure, Spider-Man, Wolfenstein 2, and I'll lump both the South Park games into one, even though the South Park Fractured Butthole comes out much sooner than a lot of the games that I'm looking forward to, and it's an old news kind of game. It's still one that I absolutely look forward to playing, and I see the Phone Destroyer as almost a complement to that experience. It is a South Park experience above all, so I'll kind of lump those together.
Okay, excellent. I will go next. For me, and this is in no particular order, but I think the Metroid Samus Returns, the 3DS one, most definitely is a must reacquire for me. Let's see, I'm gonna say Cuphead. A game with that type of lifespan, as far as like how long it took to produce, has to be played, and and it looks amazing, and I just absolutely must have it. I'm intrigued by the Ori and the Will of the Wisps reveal, and I think it's one of those where I'm going to need to play the original game to get a feel for whether I will or won't like this one. But from the critical acclaim that has gotten, I don't think that's going to be an issue. And it's another Metroid-esque game that I think looks just stunning. Shadow of War, the gameplay demos didn't show great, but I'm excited for that, and then Anthem. And I need that BioWare. And as I mentioned on Sunday night, like the palate cleanser, I'll still play Mass Effect Andromeda at some point when its cost is indicative of the type of effort that went into that game. I will eventually get there, but that looks just astounding. And I really like that. Could be a blast. I'm hoping that there's enough of a single player component, and that it's not exclusively a co-op game, or it's not if you're not playing co-op, you're playing some hampered version of it. I really don't want that to happen, but I'm really looking forward to that. So P1, let's hear your 5.
I'm trying to make a list over here. This is ridiculous. I got to pick 5 games. All of them. I pick all of them, Musty. It was a great E3.
If you want to put honorable mentions, I'm totally cool with that.
No, I will abide by your restrictions and the ruthless dictatorship of the E3 post-show recap podcast. And in 4K, I'm going to say in no particular order: Anthem, Metroid 2, Xenoblade, God of War, Wolfenstein.
Okay.
Yeah, those are my 5. Don't ask me to justify them, because then I'll start talking about Ori
No,
and Days
this
Gone and Oh boy.
And Beyond Good and Evil 2, and
Beyond Good and Evil 2, Fire Emblem Warriors, Mario Odyssey, just 5 games. Stupid rules.
Hey, we could have done 10, but then we'd be talking about 40, potentially 40 games.
Then I would complain that I was limited to 10.
Well, so let's so maybe one of those games can fit into this category then. Let's talk about favorite announcements, right? Maybe no more than 3, but what were some of your favorite announcements? They could be for those games that you just mentioned, but either the way they were presented or the what were your favorites? Caleb, let's start with you. 1 to 3 announcements.
I'll say 1 for now, only because I'm sure someone else will remind me of another one. But because it's top of mind, honestly, the Metroid Prime 4 announcement was surprisingly, I enjoyed it, and I think it had a lot to do with what P1 was saying. It might have been you actually, Musty, that was talking about that there was no ceremony around it. It was almost like here you go. Not that particular game, but other games that were in the sort of leading reel of games. But that sort of mentality where it's we know everyone wants this, and it's a great game, and it's going to be a great game, and we're really excited about it. But we have so much cool stuff going on that we'll just say something real quick about it. Other companies, I think, would have really expanded upon that in a way that made it probably seem kind of drawn out and gross and ridiculous. So I appreciated that very quick sort of announcement. And the number 2, and this will actually be the one I leave on. I know I said 1, but I lied. Is just the entire Bethesda presentation. I really enjoyed the way that they did that. I loved the Bethesda Land framing device to kind of lead you through their various things. I love that they kind of leaked, quote unquote, that Bethesda Land map beforehand, so people kind of got a sense of the expectations were set and the narrative was set before E3 even started, which I thought just was really, really cool. So
excellent. P1.
I'm going to say 2. First off, all of the cross-platform multiplayer that has been announced really gives me hope for the future that maybe someday I'll be able to play games from Xbox to PS4 if Sony ever gets their head out of their ass. But until then, Nintendo and Microsoft are playing nice, which is great because they seem like such strange bedfellows. And the second is the what I see as massive success of the Nintendo and Bethesda format of a finely tuned digital presentation that's smaller in scale, followed by extended gameplay streams on the show floor. I wish more would adopt that.
Yeah, definitely. So Ryan, let's hear your 1 to 3 surprises.
And this is probably no particular order. Surprises that I think kind of shocked me the most, and of course Metroid 2 remake for the 3DS. Life is Strange because, like I said, just like a week ago, I think they were talking about the sequel coming out. So that the fact that there's a prequel makes me really happy. And like I said, I didn't see it coming. And then number 3, Mario Odyssey. I'll say it because I thought it was a game that looked good before. I think it looks phenomenal now. And I had to stop watching the Treehouse because I don't want stuff. I want to keep as much of that surprise and charm, as possible from that game. So I want to experience, shock and joy playing that game. So I want to say those are my top 3, like, I guess, surprises or shock moments or something like that. So.
Yeah, definitely. As far as my favorite reveals, I'm going to say I really dug the Sea of Thieves it wasn't an announcement, but it was the Sea of Thieves portion of the presentation. It showed Rare doing what they used to do, and that level of humor was back, and I really dug what that game is looking like. I don't know if it's going to be my cup of tea. It looks like it is definitely one of those that is a persistent world. You're going to probably have to have, coordinate schedules to play it, but that looks like a lot of fun to me. Beyond Good and Evil 2 was what Ubisoft capped off their press conference with. It came out of nowhere. It's one of those franchises that's been dead in the water, and then to reveal it in that way was even though it's just a cinematic trailer right now, that coupled with the emotion that came out of the director, it was impactful, and so I definitely want to draw attention to that. And then I think what surprised me, I think, if I can just say that, I think the Xbox press conference surprised me as a whole. The number of games, the demeanor by which they delivered all of it, and how they like, if you look at how they presented hardware in the past, this was far and away like, they've taken everything that people despised about those reveals and fixed it, right? They didn't dwell on anything too long. They made sure to get those specs out weeks ago, some of them, so that they're not wasting time talking about it. They can just put a slide that shows that it has these things. You know, they moved quickly off of that and then hit you with game after game after game. And yes, they probably could have cut some time by trimming some of these demos, but it was very impressive that they were able to do what they did. So yeah, those will be my three there. But let's rotate then to which conference as a whole got you the most excited, or was your favorite conference? Caleb, we kind of had yours. I don't know if Bethesda is going to be that one, but let's go to you first.
I'll stick with Bethesda only because I'm a fanboy. I'm an admitted fanboy. But if I have to be completely objective about it, Nintendo got a lot of nostalgic emotions going in me that I didn't realize were dormant. Kirby, Metroid, even Mario, really. I haven't played a Mario game since Sunshine, believe it or not. So I'd say objectively Nintendo, but fanboyish Bethesda.
Okay. And P1, which conference got you the most excited?
I really enjoyed all of the conferences. That there was a lot of great things in all of them. Only one of them made me squeal like a schoolgirl, giggle like a child, cry like a grown man, and cheer like a crazy fanboy, and that was Nintendo. So I'm going to go with them.
Okay. And Ryan?
I'm going to probably sound like a broken record here, but Nintendo. But the thing is, I'm not lumping in the Metroid 2 into this thing. It's really, I think, and maybe it's because it's the most freshest in my head. So maybe if you ask me next week, Tuesday, in the Hangouts, what I thought. Because sure. Mario Odyssey, I think, just stood out so much to me that it really it won it for me. It was just that it was better than I thought it would. And it made me forget the other shows, simply that game. And then Metroid 2, like I said, it wasn't in that same show as later in the day. But that was just like another cherry on the top or something like that. So granted, I probably, like I said, if I look back a week later, I'd probably change my tune. But as of right now, it's probably Nintendo.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, for me, I think all the press conferences were, with maybe the exception of EA, were really, really well done in different ways. You know, no two press conference was alike, and they all had their strengths, and all of them had a moment here or there that may have felt like a low point in the presentation, but in general, the lowest of the lows was still pretty high across the board. So I think in general, E3, we always question, like, is E3 a dying brand? Maybe flavors of it, maybe the press conferences may be a dying brand, but I think Nintendo was the one that I enjoyed the most of them as well. So I will say Nintendo as well. I bet you guys were thinking I was going to say Xbox, but no. There was something about.
Did your Nintendo feed come in 4K? I'm having a hard time understanding why you would pick that low resolution filth.
Hashtag 4K Snap.
I will upscale my Switch to 4K. But no, I really enjoyed what they did, and the playfulness and if you even get down to like how compact it was, like if that had been an hour-long press conference or an hour-long video, I I don't know that they with this unless they doubled the content that they were going to talk about, which would have been great. But yeah, I thought far and away they were the one that had me the most I'm going to call them my favorite. Maybe the most excited as it gets closer, but because there's a lot of stuff that is closer on my horizon. Not horizon.
Closer on your anthem.
On my sure. Let's hit a couple surprises, omissions, things that we didn't get to see. Are there things that you were looking forward to seeing that didn't show up, and maybe we have to wait until next year or a future press briefing of some sort? Ryan, what's a big thing that you thought you were going to see was almost a sure thing and didn't show up?
Let me give 3. In what's it called? I'll keep it short. I was expecting, after how Resident Evil 7 reacted last year at Sony's press conference, that we for sure were going to get Resident Evil 2 remake this year. So I was really surprised to not see that happen. It was just not even close. I know they're working on it. They've announced that they are working on that game. So not even get like a super teaser trailer like even Metroid kind of was today was kind of a shock. I for sure thought they would be there. Last of Us 2 not even being mentioned was a big shock to me. And Shenmue HD 1 and 2, because Sega's been talking about all the stuff how they're trying to revive their dormant IPs and trying to get something going right there. I thought for sure we would have saw something, maybe Shenmue with Shenmue 3 being delayed, like as an announcement.
Okay, and P1, an omission or more if you have them.
I was really surprised that we didn't see Splatoon. Big fan of the franchise. Splatoon 2 is going to be massive. Other than in that sizzle reel at the beginning, they didn't mention it, and I think that speaks to their format, because there's a Splatoon invitational there happening, tournament that is being streamed. If you haven't had a chance to watch it, watch this stream, because they have fucking nailed that camera angle. This is such a good game to watch. I cannot wait for that to come out. I will be buying the Splatoon Pro controller with the neon pink and neon green handles, but I was really surprised that didn't show up more. And I think that speaks to their confidence in its brand, and also that they felt that they needed to come out and tell people other things. They didn't want to just regurgitate, here's all the games that you already know. So I'm okay with it not being there, but it did surprise me.
Yeah. And Caleb, how about you?
Special mention to Phantasy Star. I'm surprised there was no Phantasy Star.
I was going to say that I was most disappointed about P1 not interrupting me all the time, but apparently that did end up happening. So I'm very happy, very excited. No, I am. I was surprised about no Last of Us 2 even mention. I was a little, maybe not surprised, but I was disappointed that there wasn't even just a small nugget of something Fallout related besides VR, which the most reason I'm disappointed by that, not just because I'm a fan, but because that tells me that there's not another Fallout for probably 2 years. Maybe they'll pull like what they did in, I think, 2015 when they announced it at E3, and they're like, oh yeah, it's coming out in November. But it's such a huge franchise. I don't know if they can necessarily get by with doing that. But I don't know. That's my disappointments and what I thought would happen. What about you, Musty?
Okay. Yeah. So for me, I mentioned this on Sunday, and I really didn't have anything else come up that took the lead away from this. But I was surprised that the Xbox press conference did the only mention of Halo and Gears were in the sizzle reel in the beginning. And that Gears 4 would get a 4K up-res update when the time comes. I was just kind of surprised. There wasn't not even an allusion to we're working on Halo 6. I think everyone knows that we're working on Halo 6, but the fact that didn't, we didn't get Chief walking in the desert with a big robe on again, or something like that. They had the time, but it was actually kind of refreshing, the fact that they left it out for that same reason. So many people have associated that those two games as being the reason that you get an Xbox, and here's 42 reasons that aren't those two games, and you still know that those two games are still coming. I think that I wanted it going into it, but I'm glad. Part of me is glad that it didn't show up, but I'm sure there are people out there who are furious, as is the internet. So let me just throw it out there. Are there any other final comments, honorable mentions, things that you guys want to bring up from anything that you've had over the last couple days before I kind of wrap this thing up?
To say, I guess, bring on Tokyo Game Show in September, I guess. So.
Yeah, that's right. I guess that on a broader point, that probably is important to mention that there are other shows coming up. PSX is coming up, and that sort of thing. So maybe quite a bit more to come by the end of the year.
That is quite possible. Yeah, and there's Gamescom. They've already kind of alluded to some things that will definitely be at Gamescom. At least EA did. Nobody else really did. EA, who showed 8 things. It's okay. No Overwatch there, but that makes sense. They go to BlizzCon. They have their own deal. They can maintain that stuff. So, yeah. Any other last comments from you guys?
Goodbye, E3.
Yeah. So I want to give you guys a huge thank you for taking the time to be here and to talk about E3. I think if 23-year-old me watching G4 and hearing about E3 and reading about E3 could only have imagined that at some point I would get to do something like this. So I want to thank you for being along for the journey on this. I'm very much looking forward to doing this in some capacity again, whether it's in this same style of format or something more elaborate. Would be awesome. So just again, thanks to you guys. I definitely want to make sure again that we give you guys your plugs. So I go ahead and quickly tell us where we can find you. I want to start with P1.
You can find me at the Cartridge Club website, www.cartridgeclub.org, where you can also find one of my good friends and someone else who has worked incredibly hard on this E3 presentation for the club. That is Mr. Dean Lasagna, and you can find him there as well, or you can find him at round_2_gaming. Dean also has a blog that has the same level of detail that his E3 posts have that you can find on the website.
Okay. Excellent. Ryan, where can we find you and hear all about what you have going on?
Just follow me on Twitter at ItsRocketSauce. And thank you, Musty, for hosting this. It was an idea I think we all kind of talked about because we all generally love D3. And Caleb, thanks for joining. I remember seeing your video a couple weeks ago about how much you love D3. And I was like, let's see if we can get Caleb on the show because you seem like a great co-host to be on here. So thanks, P1, thanks for also agreeing to do this. I
was against it initially when I found out Caleb was going to be on, but Musty offered me some extra funding. So
up in that Patreon pledge.
Of course, thank you, Dean. You're phenomenal. The nicest guy in the world. Dean's the best.
Excellent. And Caleb, tell our viewers where they can find you and anyone who happens across these highlight reels of E3 over the next coming weeks.
You can most assuredly find me as far away from P1 as possible, with probably the majority of the world's population. So the rest of us will hang out together away from him. You can find me, Caleb J. Ross, anywhere, everywhere. That's the same handle I use pretty much everywhere. So if it says Caleb J. Ross, it's probably me. And I want to thank you guys in the Cartridge Club. You're fine, upstanding members who have been cultivating this thing for a long time. I'm a fresh face, a much needed fresh face. Let me just say, quite honestly. And I'm very happy that you guys embraced me. And also, I will say, for anyone who's not even familiar with the Cartridge Club, I imagine everyone in the channel is. But for people who may come across this video later, I've never been embraced by a community as much as I have by the Cartridge Club. Very not toxic. It's just, usually you find video game places and everyone's opinionated and they hate everyone else for not having the same opinions that they do. But it's a genuine community of the Cartridge Club, and I really feel I feel like I've been received in a way that I think anyone would be received there, and that's just very warmly, and I appreciate you guys for that.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to add any snark. I know I was going to snark, and that was so nice. I don't have any snark.
You've turned over a new Korok seed leaf.
You've let us down once again, P1.
Yeah, I'll just sit over here by myself in this corner of the world where everybody has abandoned me.
Excellent. Well, to those of you who are still watching, I want to again direct some thanks to you for coming by and watching us ramble on for a number of hours about stuff that you can assess yourself. We appreciate the fact that you are willing to take our opinions at heart and to take the time out of whatever it is that you're doing on a Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday to come hear us. So thank you. As far as E3, I do want to mention that E3 is not over. It itself started today. I heard that they ran out of soap 2 hours in. There is no soap in the bathroom. So please, if you're going to E3 this year or next year, bring some hand sanitizer, because that is going to be an immune system's nightmare. And aside from that, keep an eye out for stuff. Nintendo is notorious for revealing stuff. I mean, they did it right out the gate. It was probably the best time to release what they did. But I wouldn't put it past any of these companies to drop more information. So I would encourage you to, if you're interested, find the streams. I'm sure that Nintendo puts their Treehouse out on YouTube. I'm sure that there's plenty of stuff on Twitch. And of course, as we hear those things, a little retweet goes a long way. So we will go from there. But again, let's talk in the forums. I didn't get a chance to tonight, but I do want to go back and look at everyone's predictions and see who got things right. And then take a look at I don't know. Someone will get a prize or something. A good handshake.
There's no prizes. That was a thank you. They'll get a warm, heartfelt thank you for predicting correctly.
There you go. Thank you for making that prediction. But yeah, so thank you again. We're going to go ahead and close things down here. To those of you who were looking for a hangout tonight, I'm tired. And as much as I want to have that thing open, if you guys really want to, we can do a hangout that doesn't stream. But I feel like at some point I would want to take off earlier than I normally do. So we don't need to really belabor the point. But we'll be back with another hangout next week. And if you guys want to continue to talk E3, I'm sure that there won't be any shortage of new news that we have beyond the stuff that we've already been talking about so far this week. So we'll go ahead and leave there. Thank you for coming by. This has been the Cartridge Club Presents E3 2017. And have yourself a great evening. And we will talk to you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching.